districts do. They put a padlock on it. If you want it, you gotta, you know. But there is a responsibility that the district has, and unfortunately, we don't have the staffing to be policing it. But if the police go by and find that people are out there doing donuts or doing stuff they can certainly, and I hope they do, from time to time, you know, over the years, we've gotten calls of people misusing the property. They'll kick them off or, you know, do whatever they do. It's happened with the courts. I mean, if you have kids who want to go out there and rollerblade or, you know, do stuff other than playing tennis because the courts are open, who pays for that? And should they be doing it? Or if it's organized, let's say there's a league of hockey players who want to do hockey during the year or get ready for the hockey season, and they want to go play hockey because it's an enclosed area and they can put up a couple of goals and they're going to be playing hockey in the, do we not want to say, no, that's not?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm saying there's a level of saying, yeah, if you want to use the property, you should have some rights to it, but there's also a cost and a permission associated with it. Now that people use it without telling us, from time to time, I'm sure they do. I just don't have the capacity to police it.
Mike, you had something before?
Well, actually...
I'd like to hear your idea, too, because he really didn't explain it.
I like it.
I almost think the idea is beyond the first motion, and that is to remove the hold that we currently have on the maintenance department taking care of resurfacing those courts. I did take an opportunity the past week to visit the tennis courts, and as nice as they look from a distance, you're starting to see some pervious surface, which, you know, moisture gets inside, and you no longer have the level of facilities that we have here in Westport. Keeping in mind that the group that stepped forward years ago to really help rebuild the tennis complex has taken great care to make those improvements, and now is the time when we've been asked to take on the stewardship. So I'd like to make a motion to remove the hold and to allow or to provide direction to Dr. Colley to go ahead and schedule the resurfacing of the tennis complex.
Is there a second?
Second.
I actually, I agree with what you said. I had a chance to take a look at them, but I also want to add that we have other athletics here that use our grounds, they use our baseball fields, we cut our grass. You know, our kids use those courts too, so you know, we need to provide some of the same maintenance that we do for the other sports. You know, we do the
bleachers. We just did the bleachers.
We've done the floors from time to time in the basketball court. So we have middle school group that uses it, and we also have our high schoolers that did very well there this year. But I still want to hear your idea. Still waiting for that idea.
Well, I would like to well, as part of the discussion, again, the motion is to resurface.
Right. I'm
Did
sorry,
we get a second?
Second
over
here.
Tony
okay,
seconded it.
I didn't hear
I
this.
heard it, but I just didn't know who.
Yeah, male voices. Okay.
It was seconded.
Yes, they all kind of blend.
So to follow up on the discussion, if we're have the insight to maintain what we currently have, then we've taken some additional responsibility here to upkeep the facilities. However, my understanding is that the foundation and the group that's been assisting in managing this and actually uses as an organized tennis, I don't want to confuse, there's a foundation and there's a group?
We do work with USTA.
Stand to the mic.
For children and for adults.
Okay.
We're associated with the U.S. Tennis Association, so we use the courts in that capacity.
And with that in mind, we certainly don't want to just repave I shouldn't use the term pave, resurface the tennis courts without having some input from the group on using the right contractors. Now, on the other side is how are we going to police it? Because I remember years ago, there was some great rollerblade hockey games there. I'm not in favor of resurfacing these courts and then having the rollerblade league come in and say, well, we want to rent it to play some hockey. And I've told you all, that's my sport. So my idea, I got a retention.
I'm waiting.
Is, it is fenced in. I would think some type gate similar to a card system where people that have enrolled in a league, signed up, could be granted a membership card to have access to the gates. Personally, I don't think public access can be achieved at will. I think that if someone wants to arrange to spend an hour, they can go through the process as similar to a group that wants to rent our fields or our gymnasiums and fill out the form, and they receive access. And with an access, when I say a key, I mean the electronic cards. And I believe that would be a type system that the biggest users would be able to follow. Certainly the user fees have to be addressed. I don't know if we want to address that today. The user fees have to, that we charge for the keys are enough to compensate us for our costs. And our cost now is a resurfacing that's going to last for X number of years. So I think we have to do some math. But that was my great idea. I thought it was just a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
So, if I may,
Please identify yourself as you approach the mic. Pleasure to see you, sir.
I heard you say previously that you wanted to use our knowledge about the courts, and we have thoroughly researched both the resurfacing and ways to raise funds for the courts to pay for the resurfacing and lighting and so forth. And we have talked about key systems and buying passes, and we've determined that a key system is another item that would be broken, as our Coke machine has been broken several times. And keep in mind, the Diane B. Snyder Tennis Complex Association, we're going to keep fundraising, so we can help out with the maintenance of the courts as time goes on. Our main reason for coming to Dr. Collier was we've given the town this great facility. We want to keep it great as far as maintenance is concerned. But we wanted to turn over the responsibility to the school and or town. Because we had people coming to us who, for instance, want to teach privately and make money on the courts. Now, I agree with what Mr. Larry, I don't have my glasses on, I'm sorry, said previously. I don't think people should be charged to go play with their kids on the courts. They pay taxes, and we feel as a committee that they have a right to do that. But if someone's going to have a league, or the users who use, they want to reserve the courts Thursday nights for 2 hours, they should be paying for the courts. So I think selectively we can raise money for the people who use the courts the most, together with our fundraising, and I think we can keep that facility the way that we would like to see it kept. As I said, we have looked at various ways to raise money in policing. Now, that word policing means that probably someone has to be there most evenings when the lights are on, and that's almost impossible for us. We've all got things to do. And I think the combination of what I said previously, through several sources, I think we can keep the funds in place to keep the courts in good shape. So
Thank you.
that's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, that's exactly what, I don't want to discourage someone from playing tennis. I love the game, played in college. I just love the game of tennis. And I don't want to discourage some young, parent taking their kid to the tennis courts and saying, hey, let's go learn how to play tennis and, hit a few balls. And, I can't get into the courts because they're locked. Who do I go to on a Saturday afternoon? Schools are closed. It's summer vacation. I can't get into the courts. I don't want to discourage tennis because ultimately it helps us because these young players become high school students. They play tennis for the high school, and then they, You want a breeder system. Anything that's ever done well has had a breeder system. That's why they have AAA baseball and AA. You want a feeder system. It's going to be if anyone's making money off of it, absolutely positively charge them. But for the actual individual person at the individual user level, that's almost like saying at the Macumber School, they have kids that live in the neighborhood that go use our playground. Stop, we're going to have to charge you now to use the playground. You can't do it. It would be impossible.
I don't have a problem. I think this is a great discussion. I think the fee system for kind of league play,
Definition of
we
a
can
league.
do it, and this is why I was asking the question about what happens on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon when somebody wants to go out there and play soccer. I mean, what's to keep anybody from taking some of that spare time and spare field from saying, I'm going to run a soccer clinic? And if we don't hear about it, they can be doing it right now. We don't know. I'm not saying that that's happening. I'm saying it right now, we're open to that possibility out there. Could it happen here? We can begin with just setting up the fee structure and some kind of a relationship for those times when people do want to come forward and be honest and say, hey, I want to run a clinic, or I want to reserve the courts for 4 hours and I want it to be mine, and I don't want anybody to interfere with that because Thursday night, that's when I get together with my buddies and we're going to play. Fine. Let them come and do that. I think what you're going to hopefully start to see happening is people who want to have reserved access will begin to use that. And if they start bumping into people who just want to show up for the couple hours and hit a few balls, and they find that, hey, they're having a clinic, sorry, you can't, hopefully they'll be sending them over and say, well, if you really want to reserve it, then you have to go to the school and get a reserved time, and then they'll have that piece of paper that says, court's mine. Next parent that comes along and wants to play with their kid is going to have to come and see us. So we can start it that way. I mean, I think as much as I'm always worried that these are facilities that are precious to us, if you will. I mean, I've seen facilities that are open all the time, and my biggest fear is that they would get abused. The post system, the fencing system, the nets, if those get screwed up, there's some pretty pennies to pinch to try to come back with a solution. Because once you screw it up, it takes a little bit more reconstruction to put them back in place. So, I don't think right away we're going to be able to do any kind of policing whatsoever other than to take care of the people who we know want to use it and set up a fee system that they'll have it reserved for them. But beyond that, for now, I think we just look and see how it works, and then perhaps go to an idea like, kind of getting into your room at the hotel, click and go.
And that doesn't mean, if I could through the chair, it doesn't mean that if the building is staffed, the janitor opens it up for public use.
Well, I understand.
It's more the policing aspect and making sure that when there isn't someone overseeing it, at least on the premises, and have we had problems with vandalism? And I'm not saying hockey games are vandals. I'm saying in general,
Misuse.
if misuse of the surface and the facility is going to be detrimental, then that may become a future concern. So, most importantly, I think with this tight schedule is we release the hold of resurfacing, where that seems to be the agreement that there's a contractor who's ready to go, and we put it on hold last week, so let's make sure we take advantage of the great weather. So that's that
Tony, you have something
limited
to
motion.
add?
Yeah, through the chair, I mean,